Hey, and welcome back to Tea Time and a Story. I'm really excited because today I'm going to be talking about my first video game review. And for this review, I chose Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE Encore. Now, if you are not familiar with this game, I want you to take a quick second and try and guess what you think FE stands for. Did you guess Fire Emblem? Because if you did, you're right. That's right. Fire Emblem. Let that sink in. I originally heard about this game a few years ago because it was originally released in 2015 for the Nintendo Wii. And I was talking with a coworker about a podcast we listened to at the time where they would bounce weird video game ideas off of each other and elaborate on them. And one of them was a boy band RPG that was kind of like a Final Fantasy, but you had to manage a boy band, and you had to like manage their cute stats and their hair. And I was like, I would unironically play that. That sounds like fun. And my coworker, without hesitation, turns to me and says, "Did you know that there is a Fire Emblem Japanese idol game?" I didn't. I am a big Fire Emblem fan. I have played every Fire Emblem game I can get my hands on, which is to say games Awakening and forward, because for some reason you can't get the games from Awakening, from before Awakening, under $100 on the internet. I don't know why, but my griping aside, I really like Fire Emblem. It's my favorite Nintendo franchise, which is saying a lot compared to like Zelda and Mario, but I find the gameplay mechanics of Fire Emblem to be really satisfying. But that is a whole video in and of itself. We're talking about this game. So that's right. This is a Japanese idol RPG with Fire Emblem characters. And it's as balls to the wall as it sounds, in true Japanese fashion. So this game was originally released in 2015 for the Nintendo Wii, and they decided that for 2020 they were going to re-release it and add a few extra things and put it on the Nintendo Switch, probably to reach a wider audience considering the fact the Wii U did not sell well. But to be honest, I don't know why Nintendo chose to remaster this and remake it, but they did. So let's kind of like get into the meat of this game. Strap in, because it's a little wild. If you are not familiar with it, it will probably surprise you what this game entails. So before I start doing like the review, I'll try and go over the plot as best as I can. I have not finished the game. I've made it to chapter 3. I'm not sure how many chapters there are, but I've put about 15 hours into the game so far. So I feel like that's enough to give a basic review. So we follow Itsuki, this blue hair boy right here, and he is a high school student in urban, modern day Tokyo. The game opens with him and his childhood best friend Tsubasa leaving school and then getting on their respective trains to go somewhere. You don't know where, but there's really catchy, like poppy J-pop music playing, and they're looking out the window. It is like your very typical anime opening. But the game starts up and Itsuki is in what I think it looks almost like an arcade, but later you learn it's an observatory, but it does not look like an observatory. But he is meeting their other friend, Toma, and you get a text because there's like a phone system. You get a text from Toma that says, "Hey, I'm going to be late. Have some fun while you're waiting for me." And so Itsuki is looking around. He's like, wow, there's some kind of event going on. And you see that there is auditions for becoming the next big, like, idol. And to Itsuki's surprise, his childhood best friend Tsubasa has entered. In the middle of her audition, the announcer turns into a monster and kidnaps her and brings her through a crystal gate into a parallel dimension. And like any anime protagonist, Itsuki follows her. And he finds himself in this place that looks like Japan, but it's dark and it's edgy and it's weird. And he's just like, I'm gonna find her. I'm gonna save her. But he doesn't know where to go. And there's ghosts flying around. So he's like, I'll just walk forward. And as you walk forward, you hear the sound of a girl screaming. And he assumes it is Tsubasa because he watched her get dragged into this dimension. And along the way, a ghost starts chasing him while screaming that he is hungry and he wants Itsuki's power. Yeah. In order to escape, Itsuki runs into a building that just happens to be where Tsubasa is. And in this building, Tsubasa is being like Darth Vader force chokeholded up in the air by a ghost as well that looks like the one that was chasing Itsuki. And seeing his childhood best friend in danger ignites something within him. And he suddenly like starts glowing with light. And then the ghost behind him is like awestruck by his power, and suddenly he's not a ghost anymore. You're probably wondering at this point, what does this have to do with Fire Emblem? Well, the ghost that was chasing Itsuki turns out to be Chrom from Fire Emblem Awakening. And Chrom looks at this high school boy and he's like, gotta save your friend. I'll lend you my power. And this sword comes out of nowhere. And Itsuki strikes down, or is able to get Tsubasa down. And then she starts glowing with power. And then the ghost that was Darth Vadering her turns into some pinkish purple paladin looking chick. And there's a magical girl transformation. Out of nowhere, with absolutely no, like, explanation, both Itsuki and Tsubasa scream carnage form. And we get, like, a Sailor Moon magical girl transformation. And, like, Chrom and this other ghost chick, like, merge into the bodies of, like, the respective, like, protagonists that they were attacking earlier. And now suddenly Itsuki and Tsubasa have this awesome magical power, and they're like, you know what? We're gonna go find that announcer guy with this power, and we're gonna strike him down because he kidnapped Tsubasa. And Chrom and the other lady, who's Kaeya? I don't remember her from any of the Fire Emblem games I've played, but I believe she's a Pegasus Knight. So, long story short, they go and they find this announcer guy, and they start to strike him down, and in the middle of the battle, Toma, Itsuki's friend who said he was going to be late, appears, and it turns out he's also got a magical girl form, and he helps them in the battle, and then it's like, hey, we need to get you guys out of here. And they leave this alternate dimension, which you find out later are called idolospheres. And this, as you were leaving, your stereotypical big-boobed anime woman walks up and says that she is a manager for a production company, employs most of the Japanese idols, and says, we want to hire you because we fight ghosts. We fight the ghosts. and you have the magical ability to find the good ghosts and work with them. And we want you to work with us so you can save people. Like any anime protagonists, they are like, yep, yeah, we'll go. And that is the prologue. From there, you go to the production company's office. It's called Fortuna Productions. And the woman, Miss Marco, the boob woman, says, yeah, we call these ghost things mirages. They're causing trouble. And we want to employ you to use your good mirages and help people. And in order to become a really good fighter with your good ghosts, which are Fire Emblem characters, you have to become idols. Because your ability to sing and dance and act directly affects how good you are at fighting. So, Itsuki, Tsubasa, and Toma go into training to become idols. Because it will make them better fighters. I don't know why. Crom was not a dancer. That was not his class. He was the Lord class. So that's the very basics of the story. Like, that's the beginning. It gets more in depth from there. You find out Tsubasa has a sister that went missing in a bad mirage attack like 5 years prior, and you find out that the reason she really wants to become one of these fighters is to find her sister. So it gets into some real deep character backstory stuff eventually. But that's the basics. That's all you need to know about this game, is that you're a magical girl who is kin with a Fire Emblem character, and your ability to sing and dance determines how well you will be at fighting. I guess I'll do the pros and the cons for this game. I'll start with the pros first to start off on a good note, and then I'll go to the negative note, so I'm not too much of a negative Nancy. So the pros. It's very colorful. You can kind of guess that based on the box. And the inside box art is also very fun and colorful, if you can see that. I like that. Secondly, the music is good. But it is a game focusing on Japanese idol culture. So if the music wasn't good, then they wouldn't have a game. I also really, really like the combat system. I think that's the highlight of this game, actually, is I think the combat is really, really fun. It's very much along the lines of Final Fantasy VII. I don't know how the mechanics are working in the remake, but like the original Final Fantasy VII turn-based combat, it works a lot like that. But with the addition that certain attacks trigger combos with other characters you are fighting with for even more powerful attacks. I think that's really fun. It made the battles challenging, because the boss battles in this game are actually very, very hard. And I actually appreciate that, because I find that sometimes these days the boss battles aren't nearly as hard as they used to be, or maybe I'm just getting better at video games. But I actually find myself having to grind a lot just to make it past the boss battles to progress in the story. Now on to the cons. Fire Emblem has nothing to do with this game, yet they call it Tokyo Mirage Sessions Fire Emblem Encore. Yes, as I said, the ghosts that these people are kin with are Fire Emblem characters. They look nothing like the character models from the Fire Emblem games. If you did not tell me that this was Chrom and Iron and Kaeya and Kane and Arja, I wouldn't know looking at them. They look nothing like the Fire Emblem models.
All right, so I am doing the compare contrast with the character models during editing. I will apologize for the sound quality. I am recording on a headset that happens to have a microphone. Yes, I made these slides in PowerPoint, but that's because I'm using what is available to me that I do not have to pay for. And yeah, is it good quality? No, but you can suck my toes because this is free content for you. So anyway, so on the left I have Crom's Fire Emblem Awakening like character art. Um it's really nice. He looks like a young 20-ish guy. Um he looks like your typical like heartthrob anime protagonist. And then on the right, we have the Tokyo Mirage Sessions Crom. Notice how they look almost nothing alike. The only real things that are similar are the color scheme and the sword. You can't really see the sword very well in the image I chose here, but that's because this is the only Crom image that would not come corrupted on my computer. I don't know why. And yes, Fire Emblem Crom is doing a T pose because although Crom possesses Itsuki, Todd Howard possesses Crom. Anyway, but the fire, the Tokyo Mirage Sessions Crom, he looks very like hard and grizzled. Um, if you've played Fire Emblem Awakening, you know that Crom is kind of like your dorky jock guy. And you don't get these vibes from the Tokyo Mirage Crom. Um, I know he's supposed to be like a ghost, but he's just like spooky. He's got these two like glowing white dots for eyes, and like his dialogue in the game too is also very like hard and grizzled. He doesn't sound anything like Crom. Um, that makes me really sad that we don't have this Matthew Mercer anime boy anymore. We just got like a 40-year-old dude who has seen some shit. So that is Crom, and he's like our main ghost. So I mean, it doesn't really set the stage for a promising future for the rest of these like Fire Emblem cameos. With the help of Google Translate, I have determined that this character's name is Kaeya. So Kaeya makes an appearance in a lot of the Fire Emblem games, kind of like Anna the Shopkeeper. I'm not sure which character this game is from, but it looks kind of like Awakening. But on the right, we have the Mirage Sessions art. And the biggest difference to me is obviously the color scheme. In Mirage Sessions, they gave her a lot of bright pinks and golds, where in the original art, she's like dark reds and blacks with the exception of her blue hair, which they kept in both games. But the outfit is similar. You got the thigh high stockings, you got the short little skirt. They did make her more sexy for Mirage Sessions because we've got these two like water balloons for boobs poking out of her armor. It seems like a great way to die. Maybe get a mastectomy. I don't know. But what I also find weird is this helmet they added. I don't know how this ghost Kaeya can see out of this helmet. Um, I don't see any eye slits, but regardless, it also looks like they changed her sword into a lance for Mirage Sessions, which I don't think that's too big a deal. The lance looks pretty dang cool. Um, I guess it makes sense if she's a Pegasus Knight. Maybe she does some jousting in her free time. I don't know. Um, this character redesign isn't that bad, but then again, like I said, I do not remember her from any of the Fire Emblem games, so I can't really make any complaints about someone I don't remember. So next up, we've got Kane. I did not play the games that Kane is in because they are the older games and you can't get those for like under $100 on the internet because people are greedy. But The color scheme and the armor isn't that different from the two character models, other than the fact that they decided to give him this giant spear lance in Mirage Sessions, which I don't think he should be able to hold, but you know, that's anime for you. It's not an anime, shonen animeing unless they've got this giant weapon that, you know, they can kill 10 people with at once. They also added these weird, like, devil horns. And what I find interesting is when I was doing some research about these characters from the older games so I could talk about them here, is that apparently some of the enemies in the game, the Mirage Sessions game that you fight, are also enemies from Fire Emblem games. But again, because of the character models, I could not tell you that by just playing the game. I had to learn that from the wiki. So Kane's brother Abel is one of the like bad mirages you go up against. I did not make it that far in the game, but he is in it, and you know, it's always good to have that biblical rivalry. I don't know if one of them dies, but you know, this character design isn't so bad either, but I guess I find him to be kind of, he's forgettable. I think he's pretty forgettable. So the last side by side I wanted to do was for Tharja, because I found it kind of interesting they chose to put Tharja into this wholesome Japanese idol game, because if I remember correctly, Tharja likes to do dark, like satanic experiments on her children. Uh, so I don't know what the process behind that was. Probably they just saw a sexy anime girl and were like, yeah, let's do it. What I find interesting is that the Mirage Sessions game actually gave her more clothing. You can't see her tummy, you can't see her protruding ribs, her legs are still sticking up, but the loincloth is much wider, and her cape is longer, and obviously the color scheme is much, much brighter. They also gave her that like giant lollipop looking staff. And again, there's that really weird helmet that Kaeya had that covers the eyes. I don't know why this is a reoccurring theme. It reminds me of those old paintings where you couldn't paint women looking directly at the audience because it was too sexual. Maybe that's what we've got going here, but I don't. I mean, you got sexy legs, you got physics in this game. I don't know why we can't have the females looking at the audience, but I digress.
Honestly, I think putting the Fire Emblem characters in there is the same as the Gwyneth Paltrow vagina candle. It's a gimmick to get people to buy it. It's just a gimmick, or Nintendo trying to push the Fire Emblem franchise. But it's a very poor attempt, in my opinion. Because, like I said, I love Fire Emblem, but this isn't Fire Emblem. The dialogue is slow. That is another problem I have with it. It is fully voice acted, like I said, but as someone who does not speak Japanese, having to sit there through the dialogue boxes in a language I don't speak, it takes a while, and I just kind of want to zoom through it, since listening to them speaking isn't really doing anything for me if I just have to read the English dialogue box. But it takes forever. And I feel like if you were going to market that, if you're going to put it in English for an English audience, like make it a bit faster so that we don't have to sit through such like long, often boring cutscenes. Because like lots of traditional animes, there is a lot of those really cliche, like, we can save everything with the power of friendship. But there's also a lot of we can save everything through the power of music and putting your soul into your art. Which isn't to say that that's not an important thing for artists, but it's cheesy. They push it so hard that it just becomes straight cheese. Another con, in my opinion, is that they took Tiki, who is in this game, the like 1,000, 2,000 year old dragon. She's in this game, but they turned her into a lowly. And if you do not know what a lowly is, I wish I was you. But I will explain that essentially a lowly is a sexualized child for old pedophiles. And that's what they did to Tiki. Tiki is this mirage that has the ability to like power up your weapons and give you like ultimates. But they gave her the mannerisms of an 8-year-old, and they put her in a kind of sexy outfit, like it's a loose fitting, like sheer material kind of outfit. And she insists on calling Itsuki Big Brother. Tsubasa, the female character, even comments, "You're a pervert." Tiki cannot leave the Fortuna office, and for some reason, Big Titty Lady decides that they're going to turn Tiki into a Vocaloid. Like Hatsune Miku, but it's Tiki. So there's a side quest you undergo where Tiki, who cannot leave the office, is like, there's a person that makes music with the Tiki Vocaloid program, and they haven't been making music in a while. Can you go check on them for me, Big Brother Itsuki? And she tells you this person's username is Tiki is my waifu. I am not making this up. You have to go track down a person whose username is Tiki is my waifu and find out why they are not making Tiki Vocaloid music anymore. And you find out that this person was kidnapped also and put in one of these alternate dimensions, and you go after them. And when you find Tiki's my waifu, instead of finding a creepy old guy, you find a teenage girl, which I guess is kind of refreshing. But still, taking this childlike anime girl and claiming she's your waifu and that your love, like, your love can overcome all genders and boundaries. She's still a child. That's not okay. That's not okay, Tiki is my waifu. So that's pretty problematic, and then it gets even worse from there, because there is another character. You cannot see her on the cover here because the library sticker is there, but her name is Mamori, and she is, I want to say she's like maybe 13 tops, and she does a cooking show for Fortuna Productions. And she's played off as this very sweet, innocent, like preteen girl. And she is pretty likable. But there is a scene that pops up at the beginning of chapter 3, which I'm at now, that is problematic. And so there is a character named Barry, and he is the trainer who trains the three main characters in singing and dancing. And he's obviously middle-aged, but one of the things you learn about him right away is he's really into magical girls, which is ironic considering that's basically what they are, magical girls. And there's nothing wrong with magical girls. I love magical girls. But at the beginning of chapter 3, Mamori is in the office and she's talking with Barry, and she's talking to Barry and says like, "Oh, hey Uncle Barry, how are you today? Like, oh, you forgot your phone charger. Here, you can borrow mine. And Barry, is just like, thank you, Mamoru. Or, not Mamoru. Thank you, Mamori. Like, I'll get it right back to you. And you're like, oh, that's nice. I didn't know that was his niece. And then you learn from Big Titty Booby Woman, they are not related. And Barry is not her uncle. He is the unofficial president of her fan club. This 40-year-old man who is obsessed with young magical girls is the leader of a fan club for a preteen girl, and he purposely does not bring his phone charger with him so that he can borrow hers. Are you seeing the problem? Because it's there. It's a big old red flag, and it's waving, and it says Nintendo Y. But yeah, that's my biggest problem, is it's got lolies, and we don't do that in this house. Not on my Christian Minecraft server. I guess going down the sexual sex train, I also wish that there weren't boob physics. There did not need to be boob physics, but Miss Maiko, the big-tittied manager, each boob, it's like walking, and boobs don't work like that. It even does that on Tsubasa. Like, there's no reason for this game to have titty physics, but the titty physics are there. If you're gonna have titty physics, you gotta have dick physics. It's only fair. That aside, another con I would say is that the story is a bit strange, but I think that's just because they insisted on throwing Fire Emblem characters in there. If they had completely taken out the Fire Emblem and just made these cool warrior Mirage ghost characters that gave these humans the ability to become magical girls, that would be fine. But throwing Fire Emblem names on them just really made the story weak, in my opinion. So those are my major problems with the game. Mostly the sexualization of children, under 18-year-olds, slow dialogue, the weird inclusion of Fire Emblem characters that are not really Fire Emblem characters, and titty physics. If I were to remake this game, I think what I would do would just obviously take out the Fire Emblem thing in general. And honestly, I think it would do well with mini games. For a game that on the back of the box claims live the life of an up-and-coming idol, I was kind of hoping there would be some rhythm games, like Guitar Hero kind of things, but there's not. You just watch these boring cutscenes. So I think if maybe you were add some singing and dancing rhythm games to it to give the player the illusion that they are actually improving on their idol skills, it would make the gameplay in the game way more entertaining and far more enriching. Those are really the only things I would change. Oh, and taking out the sexualization of children. So out of 10 stars, I think when I started this game, having played it in the past, it was a 1.5 stars. But having invested more time in it, and also playing it after having a very bad day at work and using it to just numb my emotions, I'd say it rises up to a 4.5 stars out of 10 in my book. Would I recommend it? Honestly, not particularly. I would only recommend it if someone was I'm looking for a game that's kind of weird, kind of out there. I'd be like, yo, you heard of this game? It's weird. But if someone is looking for a good Japanese RPG for the Nintendo Switch, there are far better options than paying $49.99 for this. I played it for free because I rented it from the library. But if you're gonna spend money on an RPG for your Nintendo Switch, there are countless other better options. You have got the original Final Fantasy VII is on there. Legend of Zelda. And honestly, if you want a Fire Emblem game, just play Three Houses. The DLC just came out today. Play Three Houses. It is this is a 10 out of 10 in my opinion. This is worth your money. So, Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE Encore, 4.5 out of 10 stars. I was telling my friend that I was playing this game, and after just trying to describe it to him, he asked me, Ashley, who's your Fire Emblem kin? Mine's Hubert. So, I think it'd be fun that if in the comments down below, or you can tweet at me, who's your Fire Emblem kin? I thought about it, and I think I'm going to have to go with Ash from Three Houses, not only because our names are incredibly similar, but because we both have a fascination with fictional stories of heroic justice and valor, as well as I like to cook and bake, and I cry easily. So tell me who your Fire Emblem kin is, and I'll see you next time. Bye.